What's going on, everyone? It's Mike back again, and this is your Everton v Southampton match preview, but also just your video on just why I despise Everton Football Club. Let's talk about the game. We have to win. We have to win. Southampton are bottom of the league, Everton are 18th. There's a 3-point gap. Southampton win. I don't think they go above us, but they'll be on the same points as us. We'll be fundamentally joint bottom. Everton have looked at times this season combative, and at other times they've looked really poor. And we've had that toss-up in the last 2 or 3 weeks. You know, we've gone to Man City and we've got a point. We played quite well against Manchester United. And then we've fallen apart against Brighton and before the World Cup, Bournemouth and Wolves. So this Everton team have to start picking up points, and they're going to have to pick up points against teams that, you know, are not in the same position we are, because we've lost those points. We lost points to Bournemouth. We've lost points to Nottingham Forest. We've lost points to Wolves. So Everton have really got to find a way of starting to get results, and Southampton are one of those teams that Everton have got to beat. Moshiri Gray's looked really good recently. I feel like he's a player that's been very mobile, quite forward thinking as well. Every time he's got the ball, he's wanted to go forward. He's looked for a teammate. He's been beating people. He's been getting his shots off. I've been more than happy with Moshiri Gray. But the issue's been when Lampard has changed formation. Not necessarily the players. It's been the formation. When he plays 4 at the back, we look too open. When he plays 3 at the back with the 2 wing backs coming back, we look much better. We look much more solid anyway. Your problem you have with that is, though, the wing backs we've got, this is no disrespect to Coleman especially, but Mykolenko isn't a forward-thinking left back. He doesn't have that bit of skill, that bit of pace, that bit of quality to whip a ball in or to beat a man. He very much gets the ball and goes backwards or goes into the middle of the park. He doesn't look like he's going to beat a man. Yes, he can make the odd overlapping run, but the quality is nowhere near the Pienaar and Baines days or anything, to be honest. So that's a weakness for Everton. And I would consider putting Dwight McNeil in at left wing back. I really would. Dwight McNeil is a player that has played in various roles throughout his career. He played at right wing back and left wing back at Burnley at times. And we know that he's a little bit more forward thinking, and apart from when he's taking set pieces against Bournemouth, he has an okay delivery. Or he used to have an okay delivery. It'd be good to see it again in an Everton shirt. So for me, you know, it is exciting that we go into this game. The fans are going to be up for it. There's going to be a raucous crowd, an aggressive crowd, a crowd that wants to get a result. You know, the players are being welcomed in, but you know, there's this bigger whole story around Everton at the minute, and we all know about it. We all understand what the situation is, and we all know how we're going to have to identify it and address it. And these are things that Everton have got to find a solution, because if they don't find a solution, we'll get relegated. So beating Southampton is absolutely key, and this is where Ben Godfrey steps in as well. He steps into that back 3 with Cody and Tarkowski, and you know. People were saying to me about Iwobi being injured, and that means you've lost them legs in midfield. I don't think I have an issue with Doucouré coming in for this game and having Onana, Garner and Doucouré as the middle 3. And I know that doesn't sound particularly expansive or forward-thinking again, but from what I've seen of Onana on his own, he is prepared to carry the ball. I'm not going to say he's a brilliant footballer yet. You can clearly see he's got talent, but he's also got a lot of things to work on. He's raw. But I do think you could play Onana a bit further forward, and I'd have no problem doing that in this game, allowing him that freedom to just carry the ball when he needs to, and trying to pick out the wing backs, or you know, if he does play 2 up front or whatever formation he plays, the wingers, try and find them. I think Everton have to win, and that is fundamental. Southampton have got some decent players. We all know that. We all know that they've got, you know, Ward-Prowse is fantastic at free kicks and penalties. We all know they've got Che Adams and other players that are very capable footballers. I think they've just signed Orsic. Was it Osic? I think they've just signed Osic, who sat on the bench midweek. And he's a good player, a player that Everton probably should have gone for. So, look, there's lots of players in Southampton that can cause Everton problems, but Everton have got to have the answers. They've got to, because if they don't, we're down. And you guys and lots of people will say, Mike, it's very early to be saying we're going down. We don't look as good as last season, and we almost went down. We look awful. So if we can't go beat these teams, it wouldn't surprise me if we finish bottom. And look, I'm just putting it out there. I'm just, shoot at me if you need to shoot at me. But we are poor. We are poor, and we really do have to find some way of getting confidence and start getting results, because the fixtures aren't going to get any easier. They're not going to get any easier. We've played Wolves at home. We've played Forest at home. We're playing Southampton at home. They're 3 games you should get 9 points out of, and Everton so far have got 1, and potentially whatever we get tomorrow. So this Everton team has to find a way of getting results, and as I say, if they don't, they're going to be relegated. Now let's move on to Frank, because I don't think enough has been said about Frank. The board have taken a lot of emphasis on this week because of the open letters that we're all absolutely proud to be part of, the All Together Now campaign. We're all in it. Every content creator I've seen is in it. I'm in it. Absolutely agree with it. The sitting, the works, fine, cool. The banners, agreed with, donated money towards it from the channel, done, in it. Lampard's got away with some criticism, and he's got away with criticism because when he changes that formation, he's killed us when he's done it. Wolves, Brighton, the last 2 games that you can really talk about. We were too open against Wolves, hence why they scored in the last minute, and we were too open against Brighton all game, to be honest. So he has to have identified that now, because if he hasn't, and we go 4-4-2 tomorrow and we lose, he's got to go. And that's irrespective of the board, that's irrespective of transfer plans, that's irrespective of backing him and not backing him. It's a simple case of he's got to go if Everton want any hope of staying in the league. And that isn't me digging out Frank. I actually like Frank as a person. I like him as an individual. I actually like how he tends to talk as well most of the time. But tactically, he's naive at times. And he has cost us points this season. I've got no doubt about that. The recruitment between Kevin Furwell and himself has been poor in terms of Neil Maupay and Dwight McNeil. There's no getting around that either. I think every single Everton fan knows that. To spend whatever it is, 28 million, 30 million, whatever it is on those 2 players is nothing short of an absolute scandal. It's a joke. So, this is money that Everton probably needed to spend now. Did we need to bring in McNeil? We needed a winger. We needed a better winger. We didn't need McNeil. And did we need Maupay? Well, no. The model at Brighton and other teams like that is much, much better, where they don't spend loads of money, yet they've got a good team. And Everton used to use that model under David Moyes. We recruited cheaply, but very well. Mikel Arteta, Stephen Pienaar, Kevin Morales, I think, was $5.5 million. Julian Lescott was $6 million. Jagielka, $4 million. Leighton Baines, $6 million. You're talking about players there who, if they were sold in their prime, would have fetched 4 or 5 times what we bought for them. Mikel Arteta, I think it was $1.5 million, and we sold him 10 years later for £10 million, which was about 6 times what we bought him for, after him being, in my opinion, one of the best Spanish midfielders to never get a call up. So we aren't that club anymore, but we do need to find a way of getting back to them roots. A man that was involved in transfers at the time was Mr. Kenwright, and I don't know what to say about Mr. Kenwright, apart from the fact he shouldn't be there. And we all know that. We all want change at the board level. We've all been involved in the protests, and the longer he's at the club, the worse it's possibly going to get, to be honest. Denise, I don't need to comment on her too much. I think we all have our opinions of Denise Baxendale, and that's fine. I admire the fact that she sits through every minute of every game, irrespective of the reception she seems to get. I respect that. I don't think she's got a footballing mentality in terms of running of a football club. I appreciate she's in a tough position, but her experience in business, I don't know what it is, but I don't think it's football club ownership related. And then the rest of the board is a joke. And then you talk about the big man, the majority shareholder, the pinnacle of what it is to be Everton, and the owner, the facilitator of our once 500 million to 760 million pound stadium. You've got an absolute noodle at the top of the club who doesn't know what he's doing, doesn't have a clue about anything to do with football, in my opinion. And what was even more concerning is he comes out and he writes an open letter where he comments on the fact that he's released 2 in the last 12 months. He hasn't been at the football club in 18 months in terms of watching a game. And he decides yet again to contact the Everton fans via going on TalkSport, where he's got possibly the protection of Jim White. However, Simon Jordan, pretty swiftly after he got off that phone, absolutely nailed him to the ground. So Moshiri's got a lot to answer for, and actually, if you was to say to me that Everton are going to be bought by, to be honest, I couldn't care less who, I'd be all for it, because Moshiri has he's accelerated the destruction of this football team. It's been with Bill, and it was a gradual decline, which was saved a little bit by, I'm going to give him loads of credit here, you guys may disagree, but a manager that performed fairly well in David Moyes with European finishes. You could probably say never really had the money to take us to the next level, but we were 4th, 5th, 6th, etc. Then there was a decline. Roberto Martinez comes in, we finish 4th, then we go to 11th and 11th, or I think it was 10th and 10th. Koeman comes in and we finish, was it 6th, and then onwards, and then the decline has just been as aspirated ever since. Koeman took all the pace out of the football team, and Everton have never recovered. And that is my opinion. We've bought players like Decore, we've bought players like Balassi, we bought Champions League players in Klassen, etc., creative players in Sigurdsson, bought back Rooney, bought an Ademola Lookman, etc. Ademola Lookman walks into this football team right now. Nikola Vlasic walks into this football right now, can't get a game at West Ham. So there's lots of players that Everton have signed over the years that have, I'm not going to say proven themselves, because Lookman and Vlasic haven't, but they're better than what we've got when we've still got Tom Davies in the ranks. No disrespect to Tom Davies, because he shouldn't be there. And he can only get a move if he puts his hands up and says, I want to move. And then he's going to get crucified by the fans by saying he wants to move. So unless he resigns, he's buggered, which no football player's ever going to resign. So this team is woeful. And while Moshiri sees it, and has put millions and millions and millions of pounds into this football club, which has meant that we can't do anything in this window, or we're having to scrape around for deals. We've got financial fair play probably still looking over our shoulders going, how have you spent 300 million over the last 3 years in negative? It should be only 105. How have you done it? Well, Everton have got away with it, blah, 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 blah. The facts are, we are where we are. But this team is poor, and there is no way looking out. We're being linked with players like Elanga, which isn't Premier League proven yet. I'm not doubting he's a decent player, and he's a young lad, and he's got a lot of potential. But I'm not blown away by that. Everton have been linked with a few players, one being Danjuma, who there's no doubt Danjuma's a good player. We spoke about him about 4 years ago on the channel. Abigail, one of our lovely subscribers and comments on pretty much every video, bless her, she said that we should sign him from Bournemouth then. And, nobody listens to the Blue Boys Network from the club. So, there you go. But there's players that Everton probably could have signed a few years ago for a lot cheaper than we're being in with now. We're beating it with this other lad, hijacking him from Bournemouth. he's young. I think I can't remember how to pronounce his name. That's why I haven't. But I'm hoping everyone knows who I'm on about. He's a winger. He's from France. Being linked with us for like 15, 20 million. He's 20 years old. I think he's got raw pace and ability. But you know, where I'm hearing people, and I'm not disagreeing with this. And this isn't a statement I'm disagreeing. But I heard Baz, for example, they've started Toffee Team. They've started doing these shorts, really good little snippets. And he mentioned between Dan Juma and the other lad we were talking about, and he said about one being young, maybe having a sell-on value, and Dan Juma. And the problem is nobody knows which one's right. So for me, for example, I'd go with Dan Juma because he's played in England before at least. We know he's got the physicality to do it, and we know that although he's going to have to adapt, the adaptation may not be as much. And you've got another lad who's very raw, very young, very potential, and Baz is absolutely right in what he was saying about sell-on value, etc. But you just don't know, and that's the problem. And that's the problem. There is no players out there now that you go, do you know what? That player improves Everton. Because as we've spent so much money and wasted so much money on so many players, nobody knows. I was listening to something the Bobble said a few weeks ago about players coming in and transfers, and obviously Bobble's very clued up with the club, etc. He knows a lot of people in good positions, and he's a really, really top bloke. But you've got no faith in the board, so you've got all of our creators and all of the fans on, say, Twitter and Facebook and all these places, and we've all got our opinions and we all want the best for Everton, and you've got a board and a football club that don't listen. But then they tell you that they have listened and that every managerial appointment has been one that the fans have wanted. I mean, what are you saying? Are you telling me that Rafa Benitez was wanted by fans? What? It was a toss-up between Frank Lampard and a guy that went out on TalkSport and was talking about the interview process at Everton. On Sky, on TalkSport, a 30-minute whatever it was one of the most embarrassing things I've listened to regarding my football club, and he wasn't even the manager. And I sat there and I went, are you for real, Vitor Pereira? Are you for real? So this club is a joke. So every single name we get linked with now, I don't believe it's happening. I don't believe it's happening, because we get linked with so many players, and it just either doesn't happen or they're not very good when they come in. There's one name we've been linked with that I absolutely would take, and I kind of don't care how we get him. And if he ends up going south, then I'm wrong. But that is Danny Ings. That is the only player that I would love Everton to sign, because there is no doubt he knows where the goal is, he's aggressive, he'll get in your face, and I know he's played for Liverpool. I know he might be a Liverpool fan, but honestly, with the position we are in the league, relying on an injury-prone Calvert-Lewin, to be fair, and a Neil Maupay who is no better than a mid-table championship player, Danny Ings ticks the boxes as a player that can score you some goals and potentially keep you in the league. People were talking about Andros Townsend. I saw people losing their head on Andros Townsend. He's never going to play for the football club again. I think one creator was noted as commenting, Andros Townsend literally beats a person and puts the ball in the box. Well, that's exactly what we need. That's exactly what we need. We don't need Anthony Gordon trying to beat three people and trying to make it look pretty and shooting when he should be passing. We don't need that. We literally need someone to beat a man and put the ball in the box. That's it. And it doesn't happen enough. So this Southampton game and the whole window so far, and the board, and the fact they don't listen, the fact that they're absolutely blind to it, is a joke. It's turned the football club from being 10 years ago I'd go as far as saying a good club, fairly enjoyable atmosphere, wanting to do well. The fans were happy. We wanted to be bought. We wanted to be successful. We felt that we, were a big sleeping giant. And now I'm sitting here convinced we're getting relegated 10 years later, having achieved nothing. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. You know, bring back 07, 08 or 06, 07 with your Kubu and Andy Johnson and Arteta and Kale Pienaar. Bring back all of those players who just played for the shirt and just loved it and was invested in Everton Football Club. And, you know, some people will say, well, what are you saying about David Moyes coming back then? I'd take him in a heartbeat right now. I'd take him in a heartbeat. And I know there's a lot of people that won't, and I get it, I understand, don't go back. But look where we are. Look where we are. We're in the same position we was when he took over 20 years ago. So, yeah, for me, I don't know what to suggest, I don't know what to do, but yeah, for me, I just hope we beat Southampton on Saturday. So, guys, look, enjoy the game. All the content creators and myself and all that, I think we're all doing the sitting, so I'll be there till 5:30. And, yeah, let's just hope we win.